Hello. So as far as I can see, there are only two ways to play with Legos. First, there is the bucket approach. In this format, there is one large bucket with a varying assortment of colors and shapes of Lego bricks, and everyone involved builds whatever they want for as long as they want, no planning necessary. On the other hand, there is the planned approach. This methodology can involve the instructions that come with a Lego set, or it can revolve around an agreement between all parties involved to build one specific thing together throughout the entire time that they're with each other. When I was in the prime of my Lego days, I loved the planned approach. When I had playdates, I was obsessed with the planning and would continue to plan as we built the Lego itself. I planned for so long that before we could even get to the initial building stages of our Lego construction, my friend would either walk away and play with a different toy or start their own Lego construction out of sheer boredom. I never understood why a 6-year-old wouldn't want to spend half of their afternoon planning out how to play. One day, my ever-wise parents pulled me aside after observing my friend's frustration and boredom. "Matthew, why don't you ever finish the Legos you build with your friends?" That was a silly question to me. It was because they lacked the creative vision that I held so dear. My mom noted that my peers often seemed bored while playing with me, and she asked if I ever felt bored while playing with anyone else. Well, to tell the truth, playing house with my sister wasn't quite as exciting as firing Nerf guns in the basement. She then raised the question, if my sister played the way I wanted to more often, would I have more fun? Well, yes, but wait a minute. Are you going to tell me that if I ask my friends how they want to play, they'll have a better time? It was groundbreaking to a 6-year-old. That day and those Legos gave me one of the first tools that I ever had, and I carry it to this day. See, that day was one of the first times that I learned empathy. I learned how to relate one of my experiences to the experience of another and behave more accordingly. Those Legos are the building blocks of my empathy, and I am sure that all of you have your own foundation in a similar lesson. It is important to remember those lessons because I believe that in order to empathize with people effectively, we need to assemble a sort of toolkit. Through experiences with other people, we gain more and more tools and become more capable of relating to others. Now, equating my playtime with friends with playtime with my sister was easy level 1 empathy because the two activities are very similar. However, as we get older, our situations become more complex and our experiences less and less common. Now, in contrast to my Lego days, my free time now is mostly taken up by playing guitar. Since picking it up, I have not been able to put it down. I play when I have time, and I play when I don't have time. I play when I'm wide awake, and I play when my eyes won't stay open. And when I finally finish my chores or homework and I have the time to play guitar, no one better interrupt me. Whether it's my mom reminding me of something I have to do, or my sister asking me if I want to go get dinner, I'll either continue to play and pretend that I was listening, or I'll stop playing and be mad that I had to break my concentration. Now, when my mom is done with everything she has to do in her day, she relaxes either through the enrichment of a good book or through the challenge of uncountable levels of Candy Crush. When I read a book or play games on my phone, it never bothers me to be interrupted. As a result, when my mom is partaking in those activities, I never hesitate to ask her questions. However, one day I realized that the way she acts when playing Candy Crush is the same way that I act when playing guitar, disinterested in anything else and disgruntled by any interruption. After some deep meditation, I realized that Candy Crush is my mom's guitar. Right there, I found my next tool. This one is a real level up from the Legos. With them, I needed to have the right experience to relate to someone else. I needed to be bored while playing in order to know how my friends felt when they were bored with me. With my guitar, I didn't need to have the same experience with my mom. Our activities weren't even remotely close, but the important part was how she felt about it. I realized that I knew how it felt to be committed to an activity, and so I knew how she felt. This is a powerful tool because even in situations that don't concern my favorite activity, I still use it. For instance, I have political opinions. More importantly, I know how it feels to have political opinions. Therefore, when someone else has views that I don't agree with, I still know how they feel because we both have opinions. I may not relate to them at all, but when they talk about their convictions, I relate. In this way, the guitar introduced me to the power of generalizations. To empathize with my mom, I had to identify a category, favorite activity, identify how I felt about my favorite activity, and realize that she felt the same way about hers as I did about mine. If we let specifics fall away, empathy can span great differences. See, the truth is, everything that we care about falls under general terms that we can name our values. They mean so much to us, and anyone who interrupts them is anything from a moderate annoyance to an outright villain. If we look at the values of all of you or of all of the people in this state, variations develop in the specifics of what is important to you. But the commitment to them exists. The same frustration when others don't respect your values. If we keep widening our perspective to span all of humanity, I don't think it is difficult to predict what we would find. The finer points would become more and more numerous, but the general trend would continue. I bet if we could survey every man, woman, girl, and boy in every country on every continent and cross all the cultural divides and language barriers, we would get billions of people saying approximately the same thing. We would find empathy, and maybe even some people playing Candy Crush. I think about this a lot, and it makes me think about my toolkit even more. Part of why it's on my mind so often is because I am starting college this fall, and my enrollment at Northeastern, a diverse university in a substantial city, means I will meet and learn about people of all sorts of opinions, lifestyles, and places of origin. I do not think I have the right tool I need to handle this coming situation, but I fully intend to add it to my set once I find it. In a way, empty space is the ultimate tool in the empathy toolbox, because we can never be prepared for every situation. But we can carry that knowledge with us and understand our limitations, always prepared to understand others' limits as well, and quickly fill in the gaps within our own toolkits. Unlike me during my play date, we don't always have older, wiser people to pull us aside and remind us that we aren't behaving correctly. We have to mother ourselves when it comes to empathy and look for how we can improve. This allows us to move forward, ready to apply our empathy in every new situation, whether in conflict with our family members or in thinking about refugee crises across the world or in boring our friends to death. We can rely on our tools to help us relate and behave the best way possible. However, the ability to understand others at any scale, only comes when we truly understand ourselves. So as you move from tonight, I encourage you to take a look back at your toolbox. Find your Legos and identify the place where you first learned to empathize with people. Next, look at your guitar, your favorite activity, and comprehend how you learn to generalize and adapt to relate to people that aren't even close to similar to you. And lastly, look at what is missing and stay open to fill in the gaps as the opportunity presents itself. You never know how soon it might come. Thank you.